monster truck, Michigan man recreates one of the coolest monsters of the 80s. Paul Arft and his best buddy, Brian Shell, had always been car guys, at least until they fell in love with a truck. A really big truck. As Arft says, all I've ever done is cars. I worked for the same collision shop for 30 years, Shell was a painter at Roush Industries. Since I was a kid, all my dad did was create things. I don't know anything else but how to make stuff out of a pile of metal. In the early 80s, Arft and Shell created a monster. Inspired by Bigfoot, a monster truck worthy of top billing at any monster truck show in the country back in the day, Arft and Shell set out to build their own supersize contender. Coming up with a name was the easy part. After all, when the boys were done working and ready to let loose, it was, as Arft calls it, showtime. We were the guys who tended to party a little bit, he says. When we took the truck out, we were like rock stars, that's what we thought, anyway. Original photos from the number 039-80S were the blueprint for the recreation. Showtime stood out as a bright yellow machine in a sea of mostly black, big-wheeled super trucks. We built the truck on nights and weekends at Gentile's Collision Shop, where I worked, says Arft, who lives in tiny Attica in Michigan's Thumb area. I was 25. We played monster truck for a few years, took it to shows around the country, but then it just got too expensive and it just sat for a long time. They sold the truck to a guy in Pennsylvania. Arft believes Shell might have gotten $20,000 for it, 2 decades ago. Shell died in 2011, and Arft wanted to pay tribute to his friend. Before long, he was kicking the tires on the idea of bringing back Showtime. That led to a search for the original monster truck. Arft chased down leads, including one story of a garage fire years ago in Pennsylvania that was said to have gobbled up a few monster trucks. Turns out, there was a fire and some monster trucks were destroyed, but Showtime was not one of them. One of my sons lives in Pennsylvania, and he was heavy on trying to find it, Arft says. He found out who last had it, but we were too late, they had cut it up and scrapped it. Paul Arft and his new monster. Photo by Josh Scott. Arft then decided to recreate Showtime from scratch with son Carl, a guy who also knows his way around a garage as a 20-year employee for the same shop where his dad worked for 30 years. The project began last year around Thanksgiving. Carl wanted to complete the tribute truck in time for Dad's 60th birthday in May. They made deadline. It all started coming together from staring at pictures, Carl says. We had some pretty good pictures, and my dad remembered a lot of it. We had no measurements, we had to guess at a few things, but it all came together. Finding the parts to rebuild the truck led to a lot of internet searches and to plenty of deal-making with old friends and folks willing to help in the Showtime effort. The truck body for the remake, a 1978 Ford Bronco, was found in Algonac, Michigan. Period-correct sponsor stickers for the truck, some of the businesses represented are long gone, were recreated and digitized by a friend. It and number 039's not everyone who gets to crush cars in the backyard for practice, and for fun. Photo by Josh Scott. It's one of those things. We had a lot of people who gave us a part here, a part there, Arft says. About the only things I didn't fabricate were the engine and the trans. Everyone thinks I've got $300,000 into this thing. I don't have that kind of money. The biggest expense when the truck was built was the tires. They're 73 inches and weigh 1,200 pounds, and wheels. When we built the original truck, they were $15,000 for 4 tires and 4 wheels. Now, to buy the same tires, it's closer to $25,000, and I have a friend who was nice enough to give me those tires. There's still work to do on the interior. It resembles the skeleton of a stock car looking for a NASCAR track. Everybody loved it back in the 80s, Arft says. If we can get it back out there to an appearance at a grand opening or a car show or a wedding, yes, they've been there, done that, and people enjoy it, that's all I really care about. Mike Prisson. Mike Prisson covered auto racing for the Jackson, Michigan, Citizen Patriot and MLive Media Group from 1991 until joining Autalika's online motorsports editor in 2012. promoted to motorsports editor in 2015. See more by this author. Car Life, Racing, authors, Mike Prisson,